like Emily said, I am the vice chairman of the BOLD Coalition, which stands for Building Our Lives Drug-Free in Fall River. The coalition now is going to be 6 years old. When it originally began, it was called a FRAP Coalition. We needed a better name. FRAP just wasn't doing it. That stood for Fall River Area Prevention Coalition. And I actually was in one of their programs called Project Alert. And I'm just going to give you, while I'm saying this, just think about the process of how I became vice chairman. It wasn't just suddenly they picked my name out of a hat and I became vice chairman. So I want you to keep that in mind when you're looking at youth and selecting them for a leadership position. When I was in elementary school, well, middle school, but it was an elementary building, I was in 8th grade and we had this program called Project Alert, which was a substance abuse awareness program at my school. And Mike Aguiar, who was the youth program director at STAR, was the leader of that program. He was the moderator. He asked for young people at that time, now at that time I was 13 years old, to participate in a coalition that they were going to be creating, which would eventually become what is today the BOLD Coalition. And I had just decided, this was the random part, this is probably the only random thing that happened. Me deciding to go to that first meeting is probably the only random thing that happened. And I just said, well, I actually don't know why I went. I just said, well, I want to get involved, so I did. And I went to this meeting, and there was a lot of different adults, different leaders, different leaders within the community, teachers. I remember the police chief was there, different community members. We all introduced ourselves and stuff, and I introduced myself and I said I wanted to make a difference. And then they placed me on the youth subcommittee, which was called TDA. Well, we didn't have a name. We created that name, TDA, and that stands for Teens Against Drug Abuse. That is still the youth subcommittee of the BOLD Coalition, under the umbrella of all our many different subcommittees. I was appointed to this committee because I was a youth, and then a few months passed, and I eventually ran for chairman of the youth subcommittee, and I was the youngest member of that subcommittee. Interestingly enough, there were already 2 high school students on it, and I was just entering my freshman year of high school, so it was a little intimidating, but I ran for the position. They voted, and I made it. So I was a freshman in high school now, and I was the chairman of the youth subcommittee, which consisted of different high school students from Durfee, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with the area of Fall River, but there's Durfee, Diamond, and Bishop Connolly are the 3 high schools. So there was a mix of students from all those different high schools. We'd meet every week, have snacks and things, and these were all youth. This was completely youth-led, and it was interesting you had mentioned, I jotted down, and you said youth management is eventually the step that you do when you add more youth to an organization, and that's exactly what we had. But instead of gradually getting there, the BOLD Coalition had a kind of a governing body at the top, and then the youth subcommittee was completely, right off the bat, led completely by youth. So that, I think, is an interesting thing to keep in mind when you're looking to develop a youth organization or any piece of a youth organization within your own, is having youth completely shape whatever they want the committee to be. So we shaped this was a completely new committee. It was completely led by youth. We said, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to tackle youth substance abuse. We said we wanted to have fun events. We wanted to have snacks at our meeting. We wanted to make signs. Snacks are always a good thing. We want everyone to come to the meetings. We made signs. We had announcements made. And then we decided the projects that we wanted to do. Completely youth-led. So I think that that's something to keep in mind. If you're going to start a fresh youth subcommittee, have it all youth-led and let them shape the committee within the frame of your mission statement, of course. Ours happened to be youth substance abuse and reduction of youth substance abuse and awareness of the dangers. So now I'm the chairman of this subcommittee, and as chairman, you're appointed to the board of directors of the BOLD Coalition. So I went to these meetings, and it's like all these adults and older people. Not that anyone is old here.
Of course not. Is that 2 different things, adults and older people?
Depends.
Anyone who's older than him
is older, adults and older
people. So I was sitting on this board of directors, and basically just kind of giving my opinion. I would give updates on what the youth subcommittee TDA was doing, and that was basically my only role in that. Eventually they allowed me to, actually, I can't say eventually, they allowed me to vote or discuss anything that they were discussing. So any major decision that they made on the board, I had the opportunity to speak and give my input. And this, again, keep in mind, I was only 13, 14 years old, so I was already able to do this. And I think that all youth have the ability to do this if they're in the right environment. I'm going to talk about environment in a minute and how you can shape an environment conducive for
How
youth.
many adults are you talking about here who are part of this coalition?
The coalition at its start had a mailing list, and I'd say active members were about 120 people, and then a mailing list of over 1,000 members. So we're talking.
But how many showed up at meetings?
Just the board meetings would be each chairman of each committee, and there's 7 committees, so that'd be 7 adults.
So it was 7 adults and you from
and
the youth
myself,
stuff. Okay.
and then there was also 2 staff members from the organization STAR, which is the organization that hosts the Bold Coalition. So I was the only youth on the board at that time. And like I said, we would vote and discuss different things. What was I with that? So basically, the environment. Now I know where it's going. So the environment for youth to be able to make decisions like that, I think, is they did it in such a way that I just felt so comfortable giving my opinion. And I think that that's really something you need to keep in mind, making sure that the youth are comfortable giving their opinion and listening and taking their opinion seriously. What I had to say, I think, surprised them at times, is I gave them a different perspective. I mean, it's easy to sit there and say, oh, youth are using drugs because they're being influenced by other peers. But now you have a youth perspective that says, why are they being influenced by peers? What are peers saying to influence them? You know, because that's key. What is so what is someone telling you that is going to make you want to do something that you have no clue what's going to happen to you? So that's very important. You need to get the youth perspective. And I wanted to discuss that in a second as well. But eventually, they decided that it would be a good move for the coalition to appoint me to vice chairman of the entire coalition. And this was something very different. Not too many coalitions or committees even or organizations have their pretty much number 2 person as someone under 21, and this was when I was 16 years old. So they appointed me to that position, and well, it was an election, but it was more of an appointment. It wasn't really
Totally Democratic.
Yeah. So they and I've been the vice chairman since then. What that means is that I attend all the board meetings, and I help with the agenda as well as discussing the budget. So it's a pretty important position in that I also run the yearly meeting with everyone in the coalition. I'm the MC of that, and I go to a lot of different events in the city of Fall River, different political events.